I've always seen 2025 and 2026 as being some of the hardest years we'll encounter on our Earth plane in our Earth time right now. The reason for that is because we are being invited to a collective dark night of the soul so that we can finally realize that how we've set up our societal structures, not aligned at soul level, instead aligned at human level, service to self, is not working anymore.
Welcome to the Soulful Reminders podcast, your go-to spot for spiritual inspiration, growth, and connection to your true self. I'm your host, Emily Cady. Each week, I invite inspiring guests to share their unique spiritual lessons and insights, helping us all remember who we are at our core. This is more than just a podcast. It's a vibrant community where we'll explore how to unlock our full potential and embrace our essence in every aspect of our life. Life can get busy and overwhelming, but here, we focus on those soulful nudges that remind us of our incredible power. Whether you're seeking wisdom, a bit of encouragement, or simply a moment of inspiration, you're in the perfect place. Grab your favorite drink, get cozy. Let's dive into this journey together because you deserve to shine your brightest. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. I am super honored and excited to have Alysa Rushton with me today. She is a near-death survivor as well as an energy intuitive who is thought as one of the world's most cutting-edge thought leaders on conscious living, creation, and ascension. Alysa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here with you and your beautiful audience that you are creating of people that are on this awakening journey. What a blessing and a treat to be here with you today.
Yes, it's such a privilege to have you. And I know my audience is going to absolutely adore you and enjoy this podcast, this time that we have together today. You know, your story truly inspired me. I've heard it a few times over the last year or so. And I would love it if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your background and what led you to your near-death experience and how you got to where you are now. I know
Yeah.
it's loaded.
Yeah, the forever question, like, what happened to you and how did you get where you are today? Yes, because I didn't start out this way. And I want to start out by saying that I think that as human beings, we all come into this world with a level of trauma. It's in taking a body, and the body has stored trauma in the DNA from our parents and our grandparents and our grandparents, parents. So, like you, I came into a body that had a lot of stored trauma and a lot of unfortunate programs that I was not conscious to and kept going on repeat. And one of my programs was I'm the victim of my world, I'm the victim of my reality. And I had a lot of trauma specifically around men and abuse. And so the first years of my life were that I can remember when I was 5 and I was crawling across the monkey bars and this boy tickled me and I fell off and I broke my arm in 3 places. And that was sort of the start of it for me. And it just kept going and going and going. And fast forward, I was 14 years old. I was going through some more trauma with men, and I decided to leave my house, my home, and go at things at life on my own at 14.
At 14.
Yes, at 14. I was like, you know what? I'm not safe here. I know that I'm not, and I have to keep myself safe. And so I did. I ran away from home. I ventured out. I got a job at Pizza Hut, as you do. And I started waiting tables at Pizza Hut. And
Where did you live?
a variety of places. And at some point, I got an apartment of my own. Now, you have to remember, this was the early 90s. So you could say anything on a piece of paper and there was no verification. So
Right.
to Pizza Hut, I was 16. I could absolutely work, but I wasn't. To my place that I was renting, I was 18, but I wasn't. And so
Wow, you were a baby.
a baby and all on my own. And so very quickly, I realized I couldn't go to school anymore. I dropped out of high school and I got into kind of more, not the corporate realm yet, but I got a pretty great job selling cell phones early in the
Oh, that was
early,
so big back then.
oh,
What was that, like
huge.
Nexus or whatever that one brand? They were so big and at that time.
Nextel.
Nextel, that's it. Yeah.
This was before, if you can believe it, this was well before Nextel ever hit the market. This
Oh,
was early
so
90s
was it those brick phones?
and bag phones. Okay, the brick phones had just come out. So I'm talking a huge suitcase that I would sell these huge suitcase phones. I'm talking way back.
Yeah.
So I was doing that and doing great. And I loved that job. And then that company that I worked for went out of business and I got headhunted for another company, a huge company, which I won't say the name of here because of the story I'm about to tell you. And I got a job offer that was incredible for somebody that had no college education. It wasn't even asked if I had a degree or not a degree. It was just assumed that I did because of my results in my old job. And so I, interestingly enough, at the time I was exploring being a Reiki master and doing all these spiritual things. And I was going on this spiritual journey. And I got this job offer, and my gut knew not to take it.
How old are you at this point?
I'm 20.
Okay.
I'm 20. This is 1995-ish,
Mm-hmm.
96-ish. And or maybe I was 21, I guess. And so I got the job offer. I knew not to take it because I knew the manager that I was going to be working with was somebody that I had worked with in the past. And I felt really unsafe around this person. Ding, 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 ding. But the money I overrode myself because I thought, well, I'm a high school dropout. I have no college education. And here's like a Fortune 100 company headhunting me. I
Wow.
know I'm only going to rise in the organization. So, got to take the job. So,
Yeah.
I overrode my intuition, I overrode my gut. And within, I want to say 6 months of taking that job, the manager who was managing me ended up kidnapping me and threatening my life. It was very serious and it threatened to kill my family as well. And I had a total meltdown. It was a huge trauma that at 2021, I had no idea how to deal with that. And I didn't tell anybody for 3 weeks, but every day I was having meltdowns at work, as you can imagine. And
So you still are working with this guy
every day,
every day.
yes, trying to function. And I had no idea what a nervous system was. I had no idea what trauma informed was. I had no idea what anything was. I just knew this person told me I cannot tell anybody or else they will kill my whole entire family. And so I've just got to get through. And finally, one day, one of my good friends at work said, "What is going on with you? You are a mess." And I said, "If I tell you, you cannot tell anyone." She's like, "I promise." So I told her, and she's like, "I break my promise with you. We have to tell everyone. In fact, we have to call the police right now." And so that's when my life sort of flipped upside down.
How
The
scary.
it was scary. And so in my classic family style, as I had been raised, what do you do when there's a massive trauma? Well, in my family, what we did is we smoked a little more cigarettes and we drank a little more good Cabernet and we worked a lot harder to bury it deep so that we didn't have to look at that. And that's exactly what I did. I got a promotion. So instead, I went from the person who was kidnapped to the manager because the manager just lost his job. So I was now managing this store. And then I got another promotion and I just started rising the corporate ladder. And my body started to rebel. My body was like, actually, we're not liking what's happening here.
Yeah.
Missed all the signs and I missed all the
All
cues. And I
that
started.
trauma.
Mhm. Yeah. And here's the thing I think for people to really understand is it's easier for your body to express physical pain and discomfort than it is for your body to express emotional pain for most people. So, what happens is we have this stored trauma in our DNA, in our subconscious mind, which is your body. Your body's your subconscious mind. It's not up here, it's down here. And we have all this pain and trauma, and the body just needs to express the feeling. But oftentimes we're not letting it, we're suppressing it, we're medicating it, we're smoking it, we're drinking it, we're drugging it, we're sexing it, we're shopping it. instead of feeling it. And then the body's like, oh, you don't want to feel this, do you? Okay, then here's a chronic illness for you. Or okay, then here's cancer. Or okay, then here's that broken leg. Or whatever it is, the body simply wants to get the feeling felt and dealt with. It has to express it somehow.
Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah. So then I ended up getting promoted and promoted, and I wound up in a Midwestern town working at corporate America with 80,000 of my new best friends and, in a higher level of the company. And I was a corporate trainer and I loved that job. It was amazing. I was doing my life's work, but in a different way, learning about technology. And I'm such a technology geek. And I believe that how our bodies are wired are very similar to how our technology actually works.
Oh,
And
interesting.
mhm, in fact, you operate a lot like your handset. You transmit and receive data. Your DNA actually looks a lot like a 5G antenna. If you look at the two side by side, your DNA looks very close to a 5G antenna.
That's a little creepy.
So, right, art always imitates reality. Reality always imitates art and function.
Right.
So the cool thing is, your DNA that's inside of you is broadcasting out all of the time into your reality. And your DNA, in fact, I've got these little reality bubbles here. Can we?
Yes, please
Bubbles.
share. I love
So
your
here,
reality bubbles.
did not cut the reality bubble straight. That's okay. The reality bubbles, whatever's in your DNA, will coat your reality. So, for example, what was embedded in my DNA is I was a victim of men. So here we go, victim of men, and every guy that would come into my world
Yeah.
would turn into a victimizer
Mm-hmm.
because I was putting that out there. I was co-creating, I was energizing that in their system.
Yes.
Because here's a guy that is a kidnapper, but he's not kidnapping everybody.
Right. He's kidnapping the victim, the target.
The target who's got this in their DNA.
And it's a target that has never said this to anyone. It just the energy has gone out.
The energy is there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that's what
Transmitted.
happens in our reality is we think it's the other person, but actually we're putting out this energetic within our DNA, which is why when I died and on the other side, I saw about the divine DNA repatterning technique, where we can literally figure out what's stored in our DNA. And just like a cell phone, when your cell phone has a glitch and they're like, now we're going to give you update 17.2.1.5.6.
Right.
And then after you install that update, you don't have the glitch anymore. And so, what we do with a divine DNA repatterning technique is we literally write the code just like we would write the code in a cell phone update so that the glitch isn't happening anymore.
I love it.
Yes, it's powerful, it's profound. Like people with serious stuff happening in their life, or their relationships are not good, or their money is not, flowing to them. Literally, what we do is we go in and we find that piece of glitchy code that you probably got from your parents, your grandparents, or their parents, or like 10
Or
generations
society or whatever. Mm-hmm.
all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Or an early experience.
Yes.
Or experience when you were 20, whatever it happened, because that imprints on your DNA. But what I don't think most people understand is your DNA is what's projecting your reality field.
Yes.
And we live in these collaborative reality fields. So if I'm carrying something and I come into reality field with somebody who's also not very clear and has potentials, I'm going to co-create a pretty dark
Yes.
potential versus if I am doing the work, I'm pretty clear, and I come into the reality field of somebody who's got a lot of love in their reality field, a lot of goodness, a lot of expansion. Oh my gosh, what are we doing? We're creating that instead of the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understanding that we don't live in one collective reality. We live in a base reality with 8 billion different realities that overlap on top of one another and overlay. And what is ever in our overlayment, if we make it the most dominant overlayment, that's the experience we'll have. But if we go in unconscious, we'll have a different experience. Can I give you an example of this?
Please. I love it. This
Okay.
is so
Because I
great.
think this is like what I want really everybody to understand is that regardless of what happened to me on the other side, which we'll get into, but so I was out to lunch the other day with some friends, brunch, in fact. And the way I do brunch is I go to Four Seasons. I have brunch. There's my favorite server, Kelly, who's there, and it's going to be magical. It's going to be
Mm.
so special. You're going to walk away from brunch with a to-go bag filled with goodies.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. Right
I want to
now,
go to brunch with you.
you should come to brunch with me. It's wonderful. And so I knew I was coming to brunch with a group of ladies, a couple of which don't have that experience when they go out. I've seen them dine before, and whenever they go out to brunch, everything's going to be a problem. Have you dined with these people before?
Yes, everything's a problem. They're calling
Every
the waiter or waitress over for all the changes that need to be made. Hmm.
Yep, everything's a problem from everything to everything. And
Hmm.
so I knew I had two of those at the table. Now, if I go in and I'm unconscious about that, what happens is their reality bubble comes in, and all of a sudden, oh, we could have had this gorgeous brunch, but then we have like this brunch
Hmm.
and sadness, and nobody's happy, and the whole table has a bad experience.
Hmm.
Okay. So what you can do is you can set your reality bubble so it's so strong that even though this is here, you're like, well, guess what? We're all going to have a fun time. And so at this brunch, I really set my reality bubble so strongly. I was like, okay, here's what's happening. And the brunch comes and everybody's meal is just off the charts except this one woman's who really always struggles. And we had ordered the same thing, acai bowls, because I raved about, oh, this acai bowl is going to actually change your world. It's life changing. This acai bowl is life changing, actually.
Sounds incredible. You sold me.
It is. It's life. It will change your life. And there was my acai bowl, and everybody else's meal was like, whoa, this is so incredible. Oh my gosh. And then there was her acai bowl. And she's like, did we order the same thing? And I said, yes and no. And she said, well, what do you mean? And I said, I ordered the most fabulous acai bowl that is life changing. And when you placed your order, what did you actually place?
Mm.
You placed the order with the always expectation that it's not going to be awesome for you and that it's going to be a problem. And that is what you got. And I did not override your reality bubble, but I did get everybody else's because I really wanted you to see this today.
Wow.
And then we were, that's kind of hard. She's a good friend, so I can do that. We love each other.
That's a beautiful lesson.
And everybody else's meal was just off the charts. And then what was really cool with this brunch is that everybody got a goodie bag. And it was so magical because for whatever reason, the waitress is so intuitive that she just knew everybody's favorite goodie to
Oh.
put in this. And we actually had a pregnant woman with us, and she had been craving cinnamon rolls, and you just can't get a good cinnamon roll here. And our waitress Kelly had walked down to the little shop and got her like a $27 cinnamon roll and put that in her to go
My
bag.
goodness.
$27 cinnamon roll. I don't know. Those things, but you see what I'm
Wow.
saying is like when you set your reality bubble and your DNA to broadcast for that which you love, for magic and miracles, for this incredible life to come in. And that's the thing that I didn't understand before I died is that most people here on the planet their eyes are open and they think they're living their life, and in a sense that they are, but technically speaking, what I saw on the other side is that we are all divine rays of light. We're individuated pinpoints of divine light. You could call it God light, you could call it Jesus light, you could call it Muhammad light, whatever word you want to use is perfect. It is all one source energy. It actually does not have a name. It's consciousness. We would call it consciousness. And our pinpoints of light are feeding back in a loop and informing that one consciousness. We're individuated diamond fractal aspects of that light. And that light is experiencing reality based on everything's individuated consciousness. And I'm talking about even the laptop that you're using. If everything comes from consciousness, then everything is consciousness. Matter is consciousness. Mm-hmm. And that's what people have forgotten, is that we are living in a simulation. Would be the easiest, most understandable English language word I could use for it. It's actually not that, but it's an understandable analogy. But we're living in a reality that is not that which is what it seems. It seems very real. It seems very linear. It seems very, solid. When in fact, what we have to realize is that we are individuated rays of light. So is everything else. We can speak to everything and get it to shift if we want it to. And we also have to choose to use those powers for the highest good, because you can get things to shift in a not positive way. Right. You can make things shift in a way that's service to self versus service to others. Mm-hmm. And we are working with the time lag here. But once you understand how to work with time, you get that everything's happening all at once and everything's already been created. There is not really any new creation. You're literally, in fact, I'll show you this. You're literally dealing with your whole entire life and other lives that have already happened. And so a lot of people think of life as like this book. Oh, I'm going to have to read it page by page.
Right.
By page, by page, by page, when really this is all of your potentials. And there's not enough pages in this book to show you all of your potentials. And so and they're all happening right now. They're all happening. You don't have to wait for potential number 25,262 to be written. It's already there. It's already happening. So if you're on potential page 17 of your life and you're like, I feel like there's something more for me. I feel like I'd like a little more abundance, or I feel like I'd love a wonderfully happy relationship, or a body that's super healthy, super fit, super vibrant. Okay, so most people are on page 17 of that and are like, well, what are all the things I have to do in order to get there? Let me start doing those things. But here's the rub, okay? And this is really important. You cannot outperform your identity. So if you have the identity of page 17, the version of you that you kind of like, but you kind of don't like, you kind of wish were different. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't work out the way you wish you would, or maybe you don't eat the way you wish you would, or maybe you don't treat your partner the way you wish you would, or vice versa. So we think, well, what do I have to do? That's a human thing.
That is the filter that you put on the moment that the little boy tickled you and you fell down and broke your arm. That's your identity.
Yes.
You showed us, was it the green?
Yes.
Whatever. Yes. So that was your identity up to a certain point. So a lot of us are still carrying an identity of some trauma or a story that we've been told.
Yeah. Well, we
can't outlive it.
Yes.
Or not, excuse me. How did you word that?
We can't. Not sure.
You said
you can't outperform it.
Outperform it.
Until you can't outperform your identity.
Heal it, or
until you don't heal your identity, you change it.
Thank you. Okay. I love it.
Yeah, you don't heal your identity, you change it. So let me give you an example that everyone can understand. Somebody gets in a car accident, they're paraplegic all of a sudden. Boom. Well, now they have a choice. Do you want to take on the identity of being a paraplegic, or do you want to not? Right. And we've all heard these stories from the near-death survivors. That's like, yeah, I was told I was never going to walk again. And here I am walking again. Mm-hmm. One of my speaker buddies, Jeff Olson, is like this. They told him, you never walk again. You lost a leg. Your life's going to suck now. And he's like, yeah, no, it's not. I'm going to choose joy as my identity. I just lost half my family in a car accident and I'm going to choose joy instead. And so we have to choose a different identity. We don't heal our identity. We choose to create a new one. And once we choose to create a new identity, now those are big examples, but maybe you just want to run. Maybe you want to start running and you can't start running. You buy the running shoes, you don't wear them. You put them by the bed, you're making excuses of why you can't run. You buy a new running outfit that's glorious, but you're not putting it on. We've all been there. So the new yoga clothes, but you can't do it. And that's because you can't outperform your identity. And you have the identity of whatever your life is currently out picturing. So whatever is in your life, and you can do this exercise, you can just say, like, I am this in my relationships. I am this in my bank account. I am that, like, write down what the actual state of the union is with you, and you'll see what your identity is very clearly. This is easy stuff. And then what you can do is you can go in and shift that identity. And how we do that is we use the divine DNA repatterning technique to work with taking out the code of the old identity. Maybe it's you're not valued at work. Maybe your bosses are always horrible. Maybe it's, and every boss you ever have is just like equally terrible, and that never changes. You're undervalued and underpaid. So we go and we take out that code and we recode it for something different, and then align you with, instead of being on page 17, oh, look at that. Now we're on page 127. And there really isn't, they exist. You already know this, like page 17 and page 127 exist in the same now time. But people think, oh, I want this fit body, so I got to do all these things. I got to do, and that's your identity. You go into the, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? When really it's the opposite. You go into, what is the frequency energy that I'm going to be, that I'm going to feel as that? And you vision yourself being that. So this is what happened to me after my near-death experience, after dying on the potty and being blue for a little while. And we talked about sometimes the brain damage, or yes, I call it the drain bramage that comes.
Right. I'm still having a hard time with that word, but I gotcha.
Yes. All I could do, I was 240 pounds. I used a walker to get around. I had a PICC line delivering medication straight into my heart.
I was married to, my husband had a PICC line. I know exactly what that is. It's awful.
Yeah, it's awful. And I was on 28 different medications, including end-of-life fentanyl.
And aren't those like the lollipops that if you touch them, they could kill you?
Absolutely, they are.
Do they still even have those, or?
I do believe so.
Wow. Yeah. But that's all for like end of life. It's
for end of life because it can kill you.
And you were on those.
I sure was. And so that tells you how much pain I was in, trying to deal with the pain the other way. And so after I had my near-death experience and I died and I came back, I realized, oh, what I'm trying to do is killing myself. I'm literally, what I think is trying to heal me is killing me.
So if I want to take this back to your teaching that you just did to make it relatable for all the listeners. So you had the realization that you were the filter, the imprint that within your DNA was all about just basically ending your life early, and it wasn't a conscious thing, correct? Am I understanding this correctly? Because all the actions you were taking was to end your life.
That's interesting. I don't know that it was about that, but it was about that. You're very astute of you.
Well, I don't think it was a conscious thing. It was just this imprint that got placed in you at some point.
Yeah. But here's the truth. You can't die before it's your time.
Right.
You can't.
I know. You have to go out at those exit points.
It's impossible. You'll have exit points, but if you're not supposed to exit, you'll get called back.
Yeah, that's why I've had 3 NDEs. They were not for me to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if my imprint was about ending my life early. It could have very well been, but for sure, my imprint was about being in victim mode and not taking responsibility for my life and wanting to blame other people for the way that I was in and wanting to medicate my way and take drugs and abuse my way out of it and not have to feel.
Right.
And I think that resulted in, that all that not wanting to look at it, not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to really.
Well, I mean, if you think about victimhood is such a disempowering place.
Yeah. And so I think that's a program that a lot of people, though, got shown.
Right. Right.
Most of us got shown the program of, oh, whatever you do, don't talk about your feelings. I mean, I wonder how many people and their families really felt like it was a safe place to share their feelings, share what was going on, have a safe place to be validated, acknowledged, heard, expressed. I didn't have that. My template was, have some more drinks, smoke some more cigarettes. Many people, it's shop more or exercise more or whatever it is, but we weren't really shown what it looks like to process feelings ever.
No, our society definitely has shunned
Mhm.
upon that. Can you share a few examples of like how you've been able to help transform a few lives?
Sure. Well, I think I like to change the nature of the question. So I'm not doing anything. I don't do it. The person that I'm working with does everything. My belief is all about empowerment because here's the thing, in our societal structure, especially in Western society, we got a set of programs that's like this person who died for you can save you. Okay. I always make this analogy. There's no amount of me eating a salad for you and drinking green juice for you that gets you healthy ever.
Right.
Which is why energy work's amazing. And yes, I do energy work. But what I do is I do it differently. I actually teach you to do it yourself because this is why people don't sustain. They go to an energy healer or they go to something and they don't sustain the healing because we have to be responsible for our own healing. So I don't actually do it for other people. I don't even help them do it. Really, I'm guiding them through learning how to do it for themselves. And that's the secret. Once you figure out that no one can do this for you, only you came here to save you. You are the second coming. You are divine in physical form. That's the only thing that you've got to remember is like literally, you are the second coming.
Yeah.
And every miracle, every healing, every abundance gets to come as and through you.
Mm-hmm.
And once you download that template of there's no one going to save you but you, then you really get it. Because on the other side, it's the hardest, most awful false program that we have is that there's somebody coming to save us. It doesn't happen that way. We're saving ourselves. But if we're abdicating our responsibility outside of ourselves, I'm waiting for this person to save me.
Mm.
I am waiting for this person to help me get healthy. I am waiting for this, you know, catastrophe to make things better. I'm waiting for the aliens to come, whatever that is. And by the way, we'll have a lot of catastrophes this year. We'll have a lot of fake alien invasions this year. We'll have some more disclosure this year. But those things are for you so that you can wake up to the fact that you're a divine creator and you can actually work with energy and command energy and work with your own energy and have a vastly different experience in the world. I was working with a client who used to live in LA, and she followed her soul and followed her spirit and was like, you know what? It's not the time for me to be in LA anymore. I'm moving to Hawaii. And so she picked up her life. She moved to Hawaii. And then within weeks, the fire started
Wow.
because she's been in process of working with her soul and listening to her higher self. She's not waiting for somebody else to save her. She's being fully empowered and listening and tuning in. And when you're listening and tuning in, you'll be guided exactly into the places that you are going to be protected.
Yes.
You can command energy so that when you are driving, in a place, you literally are commanding your reality bubble. Drivers will behave differently in your proximity.
I have done this before. It's amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Especially I'm in Southern California, so the drivers are pretty insane here.
Mhm. Yeah, but when you're holding this reality field,
Yeah, all of a sudden there's space. People are like generous with space and not like cutting me off using
yes.
signals.
Yes. And so it's really incredible. In fact, I just got a phone call today from one of my clients, and her son has been being bullied at school, and he's 7.
Mm.
And so I said, do the command statements and the blessings ball of light that's in the toolkit that I have. It's a free toolkit. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So and by the way, kids get this and they're fast at it. They're so
Mm.
fast. Oh, these kids today. And so they did the blessings ball of light and the command statements and set this huge ball of energy around him. And she ended up going to his school today to do a little volunteering at lunch. And then she went over to see him and she said, how's your day going? And he said, Mommy, it's the most amazing day ever. You won't believe it. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. What do you think happened? And he said, command statements, Mommy. Command statements.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's so beautiful.
Yes. So whether it's being bullied at school, whether it's stage 4 cancer, I've worked with everything in between, and we can command the energy. We do not have to learn through the hardest, darkest path. We can choose to unconsciously. And that's what I did very unconsciously. I was unconscious to my life. I was unconscious to all the little choices and decisions I was making that were lining up with me not being here anymore.
Yes.
But we can also consciously go, you know what? I'd love to learn through joy and pleasure and fun. I'd love to align with page 127 of my life and show me the frequency of that. And so one of the things you guys can do right now is, and maybe you do this yourself, or maybe you do it with a spiritual person because they can help you tune your frequency, but you ask your higher self to show you the frequency of what it feels like to be on your highest life stream,
Mm.
because you have instantaneous possibilities. So just universe, my highest self, my highest, most loving guides and angels, show me what it feels like in my body to be living on my highest frequency life path,
Mm.
and see if you can get them to turn up the dial
I
on
can
that
feel
frequency. Yes.
it. My
Right.
whole like torso area is just lit up.
Yes. And then universe guides and highest, most loving angels and guides, show me the pictures, the images that I get to experience on this most incredible pathway of my life.
Mm. It's
And
awesome.
and letting those pictures flash. And what you want to then do is take those pictures into your imaginational state, your imagination, aka God, aka the universe, aka how you create your world. You take them into sats, you take them into the drift, which is theta states. So when you're falling asleep, the last 5 to 10 minutes before you're falling asleep, you just go into visioning what you are doing, seeing, smelling, tasting, sensing, because your body's a sensory organ. Your subconscious mind is a sensory organ. So this is where people go wrong and they don't manifest and they don't create what they want. They're not, what they want's already here, but they're not aligning to this page.
Mhm.
Okay. So when you're going to sleep, you're creating your next day. Your DNA is generating your next day and your next day and your next day. So I'm going to tell this to you through a story. So there's a spiritual teacher. He's amazing. He and I do a lot of summits together, Greg Braden. And
Okay, I
Greg,
know who he is. Mhm.
yes, and he's incredible. I could
Yeah.
listen to him all day long, all day long. And he and his friend, who happens to be a native Indian, were experiencing this drought in his hometown of Taos. And the native Indian, David, I believe we're going to call him, said, Greg, would you do this whole rain ceremony with me? And Greg said, yeah, I'd love to. I said, great, I'm going to come pick you up. So they go drive into the mountains and they go into this place where there's a rock circle. And David says, okay, I'll be back in just a couple minutes. And he takes off his boots and he goes and sits inside the circle of rocks and sits there for about 3 minutes, doesn't say a word. And then looks over at Greg and said, hey, you want to go get some lunch? And Greg said, yeah, but I thought you were going to do this whole rain thing. I wanted to see the rain ceremony. He's like, I just did it. And Greg said, well, I don't get it. What did you do? Did you ask for rain? Did you pray for rain? He said, no, because if I asked for rain, if I prayed for rain, the rain would never come. What I did instead was I sat in the dirt and I felt the mud squish between my toes. I felt the rain drops on my shoulders. I smelled the air. I looked at what the sunshine was doing off the raindrops. Okay, so when we're going to sleep, we have to engage our sensory organ to feel that which we want to experience. That is how we create a weather bubble, whatever kind of weather bubble that is. That's how we create a financial bubble or a relationship bubble. Remember, we're working with all these reality bubbles.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're accessing our sensory organ, and we can teach our sensory organ how to project our reality. And as soon as we switch out that identity, because that's what we're programming at night, our identity. So we take off that identity. And this is what I did. Because listen, when I woke up from my near-death experience, my body was basically broken into a million pieces. I could barely walk. And so I just knew, well, I have to just do one thing. I have to reprogram myself. And so I would lay in bed for hours every day, visualizing myself looking like I do now, walking, feeling great. Just walk.
And that's 250 pounds at this point.
240.
240.
And all I would do is just visualize myself walking, feeling great, being glowy, and that's all I could muster was that one image. I would just run that image again and again. And the feeling of what it felt like to just be out in the sunshine, just feeling so grateful to walk again quickly, briskly. And that's all I could do. I couldn't even imagine other parts of my life yet. I was just like, I just want to be able to walk again, just unassisted. Just want to walk again. And so then what happened is my identity started to switch. And all of a sudden I'm craving green juices. All of a sudden I decide to work with a health coach. All of a sudden, see, life gives you people and circumstances that show you who your new identity is. And now when I was presented with, hey, do you want to work with this health coach? I thought, yes, I do. I have no idea what that is, but yes. And I saw the health coach and I saw the sparkle in her eyes. And I said, whatever this woman tells me to do, I will do it. And I started drinking green juice and I started drinking smoothies. And she said, hey, do you think you might be gluten intolerant? And I'm like, no, I've eaten gluten and dairy all my life. What are you talking about? These are my staples. She said, yeah, but I think you might have a problem with gluten and dairy. It's like, you know what? I'm willing to do whatever you say. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it wasn't a problem for me because of the fact that I had switched out my identity. The identity version of me walking and being healthy, it was no problem for her to not eat 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's a day, because that's what I was doing. I was eating 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's a day, 4 candy bars a day, 2 packs of cigarettes a day, a bottle of nice Cabernet a day, and lots of fentanyl suckers. Okay. So I had to switch out to the identity of the person who didn't want those things anymore. This is why people stay in addiction recovery for years and white knuckle it, because they don't switch their identity out to someone who doesn't want those things. Right? The identity, once you seal the identity of a healthy person, you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I ever wanted those things. What was I thinking? You're going to look back and you're like, God, I can't, that wasn't even me. And you know why? It wasn't you. You are not on page 17 anymore. You totally dispatched with this one and you jump to page 121. Page 121 version of you doesn't want those things. Page
So
121 version of you wants healthy things.
what about, okay, some people, they're yo-yo diet. They lose the weight, they have this new identity, yet they go back. So they've never really
Don't have the
taken,
identity.
oh, okay, they never took on the new identity.
They have the identity of a person who's white knuckling it
Got it. Okay.
and trying to do the actions, and they're working at the level of environment and actions, but that's not where we change. We can only change at the top of the pyramid that informs the rest of the energy, which is your identity. If you are not identified as a healthy, fit, whatever type of person you're trying to be, you'll absolutely yo-yo, you'll struggle, you'll crave the foods, and listen, I used to eat huge berry pies every like a week, and I would eat Ben and Jerry's and candy bars, and I can't even imagine, like baked goods. I would go get these Long John donuts. I'd get like 6 of them and eat them all in a day.
Wow.
Because you have to maintain your body weight at 240. For me, I'm 5'6", so I'm very tiny boned. If you met me, it's like, oh, you have a bird arms. So you have to really maintain that body weight with a lot of Ben and Jerry's. So there comes a point when you change your identity, the new identity is like, that doesn't smell good to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You literally, like, I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. It started to stink to me. I can't stand the cigarette smoke, but I'm a smoker. I can't do this anymore. The wine that I was taking in didn't taste good to me anymore.
Yeah, I stopped. I was a wine drinker, and I still will drink, like on special occasions. I'll have a glass to be. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It tastes like chemicals now. Like
Yes.
it's gross. I'm like, cheers, have a sip, and that's like it. I don't need it. It's no
Yes.
caffeine. It's amazing.
And that's what happens when you change your identity, because the new version of you actually does different things. You're literally a different person. And you're not going to be aligned with taking those other actions. You're going to be
Yeah,
aligned with the new actions.
amazing. I love it. We are at the top of the hour, so I want to be on respectful of your time. I could
We
talk.
could just stay and talk for hours.
I know I could go on and on and on. Few things. I would love to know how people can get a hold of you if they want to maybe connect with you, as well as possibly work with you, whatever. If they resonate with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best thing to do is do the Raise Your Vibration Toolkit. So it's raiseyourvibrationtoolkit.com, and it's a free resource. It's a lot of the downloads that I got on the other side that you can use to create your day, to create an amazing life. And you can just get in there. A lot of my clients and students tell me they listen to it daily. It sets the tone for their day. So that's the best way. And it's a totally free resource for you.
Awesome. I'll make sure that's in the description below, as well as all your social links and your website too. So
Amazing.
and that's a great way to start working with you. And if they want more, there's obviously avenues for them as well.
Yeah. And we do lots of free events every month. So once you're in the Raise Your Vibration Toolkit, you can get access to all our free things that we do monthly. Because I love to just
Wonderful.
put out the help for you to become the divine creator of your life.
You have such a generous heart, and you truly do radiate such a beautiful light out into the world. And I appreciate your willingness, to really pour into my audience here. It means a lot. So thank you for that. Before we go, I know we wanted to talk about what's going on in 2025 and 2026. Our listeners can go to your YouTube and hear your predictions, because I think they're really good to listen to. But if you have any last minute message for what, just helping people find some equilibrium during these next few years that we are going through a transition, and helping them pick the identity that they want.
Yes. Oh, I love this question. So I've always seen 2025 and 2026 as being some of the hardest years we'll encounter on our earth plane in our earth time right now. The reason for that is because we are being invited to a collective dark night of the soul, so that we can finally realize that how we've set up our societal structures, not aligned at soul level, instead aligned at human level, service to self, is not working anymore.
Yeah.
And so when we go through these hard times, the first thing is to remind yourself that everything's working out for you perfectly, even when it's hard. Everything's aligning for us perfectly. And to really hold the vision of the higher timelines that you wish to see. I actually see this as golden zones. You know how we have the blue zones where people live to be 100
100.
and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How I see it is these excuse me, as these golden zones. And actually Diana Cooper writes about this, the golden age. I see this as zones across the world that we're in the process of building, where we're living at soul level, where we're aligned with soul, where our communities are set up in a sustainable fashion, where we're not working ourselves to death, and we've got all the things we need to do to support the human to live this beautiful life. So yes, 2025 and 2026. I think the first part of 2025 is going to be a little difficult. It's this very fiery, dry energy. You know, we've got the fires in LA, Kilauea, the volcano here is going off. It's just this very fiery, eruptive energy that's happening. And I think we're going to see that into the mid part of the year. I think we will have a chance to uncreate and then recreate, as it often happens. And here's the thing, all possibilities are on the table right now. Possibilities for a lower timeline where it's a little more governmental control, more AI, more nefarious energies are on the table, as are golden zones and living at soul level. Now, here's the vexing part, okay? The reality bubble that you're energizing will be the one that you'll experience.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. The reality bubble that you are energizing will be the one you experience. So if you do not want to experience the lockdown, the shutdown, the all that, focus your attention. Your reality will change to the level to which you keep your attention on that which you want. Let me say that again. Your
Yeah.
reality will change to the level to which you keep your attention on that which you want to energize. Life works like YouTube. Life works like Instagram. The more you're clicking and liking and subscribing on something on YouTube or Instagram, the more you're seeing that in your feed. So when you find yourself with your friends and family talking about the reality that you don't want, you're liking, you're clicking, you're subscribing on that reality. Even though you don't want it, the universe is like, oh, you like having things that you don't want. Perfect. Let's give you more of that. So, what we have to do is we have to like, click, subscribe to the reality that we want. Vision it. Imagine these healing stations. Imagine your retreat center. Imagine you living in this world where it's beautiful and lovely, and people are, their hearts are actually opened, and we respect and honor and love each other, even for our differences. If you energize that reality, you will experience it. You'll be taken care of. So it's a time when we are really realizing, oh, like what we're energizing. I think we're going to live with two realities for a while that feel even more and more and more extreme. And only you can decide which one you experience, and you decide that through what you're giving your attention to, what you're giving your energy to. It's not going to be an easy year all the way around. I say it's a little easier if you're a Virgo or a Pisces, but you know, in general, we'll have to see and witness a lot of collective stuff that won't be easy. However, you know, I also see another pandemic queuing up and all of that stuff, but the more you go into, wait a second, I am a divine creator here in physical form. I get to energize that which I want. I get to alchemize through fear and worry, and instead go into what's the opposite of fear and worry is trust and safety. And I've got this, and I can literally move mountains with my frequency, with my energy. And that's what we're being called forward into as humans. It's the second coming. It's just not how we thought it was going to be. It's not one person saving us, it's you saving you.
Mm, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And my guides have shown me 2025, there's two timelines that are split. We got the 3D and the 5D. and you have the choice of which timeline you want to be on. So that's totally aligned with what you're talking about.
Yeah. And they're happening together. Like they're both happening. And
Oh,
you'll be able to like, you know, and here's the other thing that I think is really important. Don't count anybody out.
thank you. Do you have a minute to go in on
I
that?
have
Because
all the minutes.
okay, yeah, I would love to go in on this because I know your story and I think this is so important. Because
Mhm.
the other thing I know is being on the other side from NDEs, that love, that unconditional love, and that you don't have judgment.
Mhm.
So please share this story if you have just, yeah, some more time to share this.
So I'm hopeful this will land in the right way. So a lot of people talk about this split, this 3D and a 5D split, and that can put people in a place where you think, oh, these guys aren't going to make it. They're they're lower than me. They're higher than me. And I tend to think that's more spiritual ego. Here's the thing is if you would have seen me 20 years ago, and by the way, this year is my 20th anniversary of my near death, you would have thought she'll never make it. She's never going to wake up in this lifetime. She'll always be sick, or she might even die early. We cannot count people out. This right now is the lifetime where we have the most energy for people to ascend their consciousness. No, not everybody will choose to do it, but many people will, and ones that will totally surprise you. It'll totally blow you away. So if you can think of it less as a split and more of a there's going to be energies running in these two timelines, but technically we've got so many different potential timelines that are all running concurrently. So if you can just think like, oh, the people that might be having a tough go right now are maybe getting their rock bottom moment so that they can see other potentials. Because at the end of the day, it's physics. Your rock bottom is the energy for your top. So when we have these rock bottoms, it's a physics, it's a waveform. It gives us the momentum to pull back up again. And that's what we're going through as a collective. When you had your near death experience, when I had my near death experience, we gathered the momentum at the bottom of the wave. We had all this energy at the bottom of the wave, and then we have momentum to come back up. We're doing that as a collective society. So do not count people out. The more you lock somebody into, oh, they're not going to make it in this lifetime, they're not going to make those choices. You're a quantum physicist, you're a quantum creator, you're locking them into not making it in this
Right.
lifetime.
Yes,
So the
that's
more
a
you
really
sit
powerful statement. I just want you to say that again because I really think it's important that we understand this.
Yes, you are a quantum creator. The more you lock into, oh, these ones are going over here and the good ones are going over here. And by the way, that's such an old as time itself, polarity of being here on earth. These ones are good, these ones are bad, these ones are going to heaven, these ones are going to hell. We're just, as in spirituality, this 3D, 5D thing is absolutely that old heaven and hell all just regurgitated into different language. Okay. So the
So
more you can,
that's interesting because I see like 3D as just people that are functioning in this 3D like density that they want to be in it. Some people that's what they enjoy. I don't necessarily see it as heaven or hell.
yeah, but it's a separate, I see it as a separation. Like these
Okay.
ones down here, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
not as good as, and they
Right.
want to be experiencing these
Uh-huh.
lower realms. And these ones up here are better because they're doing this. It's a regurgitated version of polarity, good, bad.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I agree. Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is not do that. We can say there's folks, we're on all ends of the spectrum, and we're getting a huge blast of cosmic energy for people to wake up to the fact that there's more and not hold anybody outside of that, holding the space and love that people can and likely will choose a different experience. You would not believe the amount of people in the 70 and 80 and 90-year-old range that I'm having now on summits and podcasts that I'm doing because they're like, oh, whoa, I want to make a shift before I
I
leave this
have
life.
a bunch of clients that are in that range as well. I have a 194-year-old, but the other I have a lot of 70s and 80s and I love it. I love it.
and they're like, wow, I really want to do something different. This is not what I knew coming in. And I want to. So we're having this huge burst of energy in this lifetime. I always say, this is the healing lifetime. This is the lifetime where you get to break the programs, break the patterns. You get to reclaim your divine self in physical form. You get to actually break out of this samskaric cycle of perpetual going again and again and again and again and learning the hard lessons the hard way, and you get to break out of that. And that's the energy, and I'm seeing billions of people choosing to do this. So the more you can see your fellow human beings, even especially the ones you disagree with,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
as also divine beings of light, the more you help to energize this new wave of energy that's coming through.
Thank you. That's really beautiful. And it's so powerful. We are quantumly entangled.
Yeah.
And our thoughts have a huge impact on others, good or bad. So we can choose and not put people in a box.
Right? No boxes. No boxes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up, or are you good?
Well, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here with us. Pop your comments and your questions below. Pop your experiences. I love, 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 love hearing from you guys. I don't eat candy, so your comments are my candy treat.
Oh, I love that. Yes, thank you for joining us today. And do any questions or comments, please drop them below, and we will definitely be able to have a little conversation online together. So I appreciate your time, Alysa. Thank you. Thank you for generously pouring into my audience and to just your work. It's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Soulful Reminders podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered by the incredible insights we shared today. Remember, every story and lesson we explore is a beautiful reminder of the immense potential that resides within you. As you continue on your journey, take these soulful nudges with you. Embrace your true essence and actively work towards unlocking your full potential in every area of your life. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with others who could use this little reminder too. Until next time, keep shining your light. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we can uplift and inspire one another to live fully and authentically. You got this.